Welcome back. Let's get started right away. Working with our 35-inch strands of cotton cord, we're going to be working in groups of 5. Attach 4 strands using a reverse lark's head knot onto our 5th cord. To make a reverse lark's head knot, fold your cord in half to find the center, then place the center loop up through the bottom underneath your cord that you're attaching it to, and then place the tail ends through the loop and pull. Once you have all 4 cords attached to your 5th, divide it in half, and then we're going to grab the first 4 cords and we're going to tie a square knot. Grab your left cord and place it over the 2 center, then place your right underneath and then through the loop from your left, and that's half of your square knot. Then we're going to repeat the same process but backwards. Make a loop on your right, then take your left cord and then place it behind and through the loop on your right. Next, we're going to do the same thing to the last 4 cords here. For our second row, we're going to alternate our square knots. To do this, we're joining our first 2 knots together. Working from 2 cords from each of our previous knot, we're going to tie another square knot. By doing this, this joins it together, and this is what's called an alternating square knot pattern. Next, we're going to take the very top left cord and we're going to bring it down towards the center. This is going to be our filler cord for double half hitch knots. To make a double half hitch, you grab your next cord in line and then you loop it around your filler cord twice. But instead of leaving it there, we're going to grab the cord that we just used to tie our knot and we're going to gather that into our right hand and use that also as our filler cord. So taking our next cord in line, we're going to tie another double half hitch knot, but this time over our 2 cords. Then taking the cord that we had just used, we're going to gather it into our right hand again and then use the next cord and tie around all 3. Then we're going to repeat with the very last cord on our left side here. Next, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did to our left side to the right hand side. And that completes our very first petal. Now repeat the whole thing all over again until you have 7 petals. Now if you wanted to, you could gather up all your petals in your hand and rearrange them into a flower and then tie it off with a gathering knot, and that would be just the head of your flower. Or if you want to attach it onto a stem, you need to trim off all of these cords. I'm going to be trimming all the cords off except for the back 2 cords. However, we will be cutting those as well. I like to trim the last 2 later on, but for now we're just cutting off all these center filler cords. Now to prevent your knots from slipping off, we're going to secure it with some hot glue just at the very end here. For this project, we're going to actually be using quite a bit of hot glue. So make sure you have plenty of glue sticks. Once you've hot glued all the ends to all your petals, you should have something like this. Now we're going to arrange our petals, and for the first one, I like to squish in half and secure it with a little bit of hot glue. Once your first petal is dry, we're going to grab our second one and we're going to overlap our first. I like to take a look of where I'm placing it first before I hot glue it, and then I'm just going to add a dab of hot glue right at the very edge here where our double half hitch knots are, and then place it right onto our previous petal here. And then I tack down the other side of our petal, And when you're hot gluing, you want to make sure that you don't glue the whole entire side of your petal. You do want your petals to be able to move around a bit. So I'm only really hot gluing the first ½ inch or so, a couple centimeters from the base of our petals. So I'm going to carry on and continue to hot glue our petals all the way around, making sure I overlap them just a little tiny bit. Once you've attached all 7 petals, it should look something like this when you're done. Next, we're going to clean up all these little strands here. To do this, we're going to snip them off and hot glue them just like we did with the other ends. And the reason why I like to do it now is because I have more control of how I hide it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and snip off the excess cord and then hot glue the ends so they don't unravel. Now that we've done that, we're kind of left with the ugly bottom to our flower here. So we're going to fix that by adding the fronds. I think that's what that's called. The little green petals that are underneath the base of our flower. So to make those, grab one of our 3 green cords and we're going to find the center by folding it in half. Then we're going to tie just a regular overhand knot right in the very center. Then I'm going to tack it down onto my board, and then we're going to grab our next green strand and we're going to tie a vertical double half hitch knot. So place your second strand right in the very center of your cord and then make a loop on your right. Take your tail end and wrap it around and then through that loop. That's half of your vertical double half hitch. We're going to repeat it again by making a loop on our right, wrap the tail end around and through the loop. And make sure that you have equal amounts of length on both sides of your cord here. Next, we're going to repeat with our third strand here and tie another vertical double half hitch knot. Next, grab the very far left hand side and bring it down into the center, and we're going to use that as our filler cord for our double half hitch knots. So tie a double half hitch knot with your first cord and your second cord. And of course, we're going to repeat the exact same thing to the right hand side and tie double half hitch knots all the way down to the center. Once you get to the very center, we're going to take our 2 filler cords and tie one more double half hitch knot together. For our second row, we're going to take the next cord and we're going to use that as our filler cord and tie another row of double half hitch knots, except once we tie our knot, we're going to take that cord and gather it into our right hand again, just like we did with the petals, and we're going to tie our next cord around both the 2 filler cords. I hope that didn't sound too confusing. It's just like we did with our petals. And of course, we're going to repeat the same thing to the other side as well. And just like we did with the petals, I'm going to trim off these filler cords right in the center here and then secure them with a little bit of hot glue. But this time, we're not going to be cutting those back 2 cords, so make sure you leave those long. Then we're going to repeat the whole process all over again 3 more times so that we have a total of 4 of these little leaf petals. And what I like to do before we hot glue it down is I like to rearrange it on top of the bottom of our flower here, just to make sure that we have the correct distance all the way around our flower. Once you like what you see and you're confident that you've hidden all the sins underneath the bottom of our flower here, we're going to hot glue it down with just a little bit of hot glue right at the very base of our leaf petals here. We still want to be able to make sure that they move around a bit. Once you have them all on there, set your flower aside and we're going to work on the stem. To make the stem, we're just using a regular bamboo skewer, the kind that you would find in a grocery store. And I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right to the very pointy end. And then I'm going to take that and kind of skewer it into our cord here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right at the very top. And then we're going to wrap our cord all the way around our skewer. I find that the hot glue dries really quickly on the skewer for whatever reason. So make sure you're only working with a little bit of hot glue at a time, like maybe about an inch or so, and wrap around and then hot glue and then wrap around some more. I have brought back my Your Request series, which happens to be this video right now is a request. If you would like to request a pattern, let me know in the comments below. It can be anything. It could be a plant hanger or another type of flower or a vertical double half hitch pixel pattern. Whatever you want, let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so we're going to attach our stem right onto our flower now. And to do this, you guessed it, more hot glue. So add a generous size of hot glue into the center of our flower and then hold your stem in place. And once it's somewhat secure and hardened, we're going to grab those long strands of green cord and we're going to attach it onto our stem. Using our hot glue gun again, we're going to add about an inch worth of glue right to the base here. And then we're going to fold our cord right on top of that hot glue. It's kind of hard to describe what I'm doing and it's a little bit difficult to demonstrate, but you'll understand in a minute here. I'll show you once I've gotten them all on. Okay, so it should look something like this. So we've grabbed those cords and we've kind of pushed them into the base here. And we ran hot glue just about an inch or so onto the stem. And now I'm going to cut off the excess. By attaching it like this, I find that it makes it a lot more sturdy and our flower won't wobble on the stem at all. It's very secure on there. Later on in the video, I'm going to show you how we're going to hide the ends here so it doesn't look totally cut off. But for now, we're going to make the leaves. So roses usually have a cluster of leaves that have three leaves on one stem. So that is what we're going to do. To make a leaf, we're going to be using 4 cords in total. So for the first cord, we're going to fold it in half and find the center. And then we're going to grab our second cord and we're going to tie vertical double half hitch knots on both the 2 folded ends of our original cord. Next, we're going to grab our third cord and we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to go across all 4 of our cords here. And we're going to tie vertical double half hitch knots all the way across. And with our fourth cord, we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're going to go across all 6 of our cords now. And try to make sure that you have even lengths of cord on both sides when you're finished. Next, working with the very 2 center cords, we're going to tie them together with a double half hitch knot. Next, we're going to be working on the rows that are right next to the 2 center. And we're going to tie those together with double half hitch knots as well. Once you've worked your cords all the way down into the center again, we're going to tie our 2 filler cords together with 1 more double half hitch knot. Then we're going to repeat the same thing again with the next row and work our way all the way down into the center. And once your 2 filler cords meet, we're going to join them together with another double half hitch knot. And for our final outside row, we're going to do the same thing that we did with our leaf and our petals. And we're going to do another row of double half hitch knots, making sure that once we've tied our knot, that we take that cord and we gather it into our right hand and we tie another double half hitch knot around both cords. And of course, we repeat the same thing to the other side as well. Okay, once we get down to the bottom, we don't want this gap here. So grab any two cords that are on the very top and tie one more double half hitch knot. That way it looks kind of connected and it gets rid of that gap. It should look something like this when you're done. Then we're going to repeat the same thing so that we have a total of 3 leaves. Okay, so grab your crafting wire and we're going to form the stem of our leaves. Now it's important to have braided cord for this very reason. We're going to take our wire and we're going to slowly insert it right into the center of our braided cord. Make sure you work slowly and very carefully, and you should be able to get your wire right into the very center of your cord. And now you should have a stem that you can easily bend. Repeat for your other 2 stems, and then we're going to finish off our leaves. So we're going to trim off the ends here and then secure it with a little bit of hot glue, just like we did with the petals. Only this time, make sure that you're not using a whole ton of hot glue. We really don't want to be able to see this, so kind of hide it very conspicuously. Next, take your stem and we're going to attach it with hot glue again. I'm attaching mine on the back of my leaf, but you could attach it to the front if you really like that kind of vein look that leaves tend to have, but I kind of like it on the back. And of course, repeat with your other 2 leaves. Next, what I'm doing is temporarily tacking down our stems onto the center main stem with just a little bit of hot glue. We're going to secure it better by wrapping our cord around it, but right now we're just temporarily tacking it down. I find it's easier to temporarily tack it down because otherwise your stems and your leaves are going to be flipping around all over the place. So it's just easier to temporarily tack it down. And then we're going to secure it by wrapping our cord around all 3 of them together. But we're only going to wrap until about halfway down our stem. And the reason why you only want to wrap it halfway down is because we're going to join both of our stems together into one main stem. So then we're going to continue to hot glue and wrap all the way straight down to the very bottom of our flower. And finally, we're going to hide the very top here by doing a gathering knot. So take your 40-inch strand of cord and you're going to make a loop at the bottom and then wrap it around. And once you get to the very end, we're going to take our tail end and thread it through that loop. And then we're going to take the very top of our cord and we're going to pull it very taut so that it hides our tail end right in the inside of our gathering knot. Then snip off the ends and this is your completed rose. I think it turned out very beautiful. What do you think? If you like this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button. That way I know to make more content just like this one. Also, I have an entire playlist on flowers. I'll leave the link to that on the screen now and I'll see you over there.